Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is July 17th, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see we've got a very weak system kind of sliding by British Columbia, Alberta, right there. We're going to take a look at what is to come here over the next few days as we go on in through the following weekend, and we'll take a look at all that information here as we go through the video here this morning. So let's dive into a few things. You can see the marine layer down towards the Strait of Juan de Fuca. They're pushed in towards the Olympic Mountains. Look at those terrain features the marine layer has carved itself into. There is what is known as the Chehalis Gap. Higher terrain there across some of the Olympic Mountains, and some of southwest Washington's got some higher hills there as well. And you can see that marine layer has moved in across some of the Kitsap Peninsula all the way towards SeaTac there. And that marine layer, I can see it outside this morning. But most areas are pretty clear. Bellingham, Everett, up here, and most of North Seattle also, and places like Whidbey Island, Southwest BC, go across the interior areas as well. Mount Rainier, nice and glorious sunshine, but you can see that the marine layer has also pushed in across some of the I-5 corridor, but not the Portland metro. You can also see the Oregon coast kind of engulfed in that marine layer as well. We take a look at the other one here a little bit further south for the Oregon coast. Again, pretty well socked in, but once you get across the I-5 corridor, you're dealing with mostly clear skies, except there is some of that smoke out there. We'll take a look at that here as well. So looking at Seattle, still got a heat advisory ongoing here as we go through the day today. Still another fairly warm day out there. And again, if you didn't hear me mention that yesterday, you can see some of the new forecast zones, how these reach up into the valley areas. You can see with the heat advisory doesn't include some of the surrounding foothills and whatnot that are going to be a little bit cooler versus some of the lower elevations there. So nice stuff from the National Weather Service. Taking a look at Seattle yesterday, 94 degrees, so a scorcher out there yesterday, 88 on the previous day, and we're probably headed for the mid-upper 80s yet again today. This is 3.4 degrees above normal so far for the month of July. So very warm July so far, and we've had that only one 90 degree, actually two 90 degree days. We've had some multiple 80 degree days as well. And if we take a look at Portland, look at that, scorching 97 degrees for the month, 3.3 degrees above average. So looking at Spokane, check it out, 83, 14 degrees cooler than Portland there, and that's because that system was kind of moving by to the east. We had that offshore flow and that thermal trough warm in places up west the Cascades even more. So yeah, Seattle 11 degrees warmer than Spokane yesterday. And if you want your own home weather station here to record these temperatures and whatnot, see what the temperature is, if it's raining at your house, lightning detection system, all kinds of fun stuff, stores all the data for you in the cloud, easy to set up. You just flip the switch and it hooks to your Wi-Fi, and you have a smartphone app that is really great as well. Click on that link down below to save 10%. So looking at Pendleton, Oregon here, look at the red flag warning. It does include places like Pasco, Sunnyside, and just off to the east of Yakima, but it does include much of eastern Oregon. The Dalles is right here. There's Madras, there's Redmond and Bend, and so it does include much of eastern Oregon, and the Fire Weather Watch does include portions of eastern Washington, including Moses Lake, Ritzville, and this is Spokane. This was updated yesterday at nighttime, and you can see we have that Fire Weather Watch. Wind starting to pick back up again, 35 miles per hour, and some low relative humidities. Dispose of things properly, please. Now, taking a look here at 8 meters above ground level here as far as smoke is concerned. This is the 12Z run. It goes out 48 hours, and you can see the Cram fire there. We got the British Columbia stuff going on, and some smoke out there. Again, it depends on proximity to some of these fires, but we do have some smoke moving across the region. And did you notice that if you were across some of the Puget Sound there yesterday, we had this fire ongoing here. I don't know the name of it yet. I'll look that up probably today. But we had a fire there on some of the Olympic Mountains. I could see it during the sunset yesterday, kind of bubbling about out there. So yeah, it is that time of year. Now, taking a wider view of things here, let's take a look at what is to come. You can kind of see this weak system brushing by to our north and east, sliding through. Still got the ridge of high pressure out over the Pacific Ocean here. It gives way to more of this trough, as we go through this upcoming weekend. You can see that trough carve out as we go through the day Monday down the west coast of North America. But man, look at this ridge amplified up across the Gulf of Alaska. So this is going to be important how fast this low gets to the south, because this could start to turn things back offshore and start to warm us up up again here across some of the region. You might think, oh, it's going to be a trough. It's going to be nice and rainy and chilly and whatnot. But yeah, it is late July, and that is not always the case. It's going to be some offshore flow associated with that if this ridge starts to build right back in behind that upper level low. Now, if we take a look at that, why do we call it an upper level low? Well, good question, because if you look at the surface map here, you notice you don't really see those features with that troughing coming through at the end of the week, end of the weekend, and on in through the early portions of next week. You can kind of just see the diurnal cycle of the onshore flow, where the winds pick up during the afternoon and evening hours as the interior areas heat up a bit, and yeah, and you can kind of see the high pressure out of the Pacific Ocean driving these northwest winds down the coastal areas. So yeah, you definitely see these features at the mid levels of the atmosphere or in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and therefore calling it that upper level low. And if we take a look here at 500 millibars, you can kind of see the temperatures drop down as we go through the troughing here this weekend. You'll see it right there, kind of dropping down over the region here as we go towards the end of the weekend and on in through early next week. And then it kind of retrogrades back out over the Pacific Ocean a bit there. But if we take a look at what we're expecting precipitation wise, let's scroll through here. You can see British Columbia, Alberta getting a bit more, especially across the Rocky Mountains there as we go through some of this weekend. Might kick off a shower maybe across western Washington as we go through this weekend. No promises on that. It doesn't look like it's going to amount to much. But some of the North Cascades there, right on the Washington-Canada border, getting a little bit better amounts, maybe some thunderstorm activity there. And then as we go through Monday, we start to bring that trough down across the region, and they could kick off some thunderstorms across portions of Oregon, maybe Idaho, western Montana, North Cascades. Can't rule out a lightning strike there for Oroville, for example. And then we scroll on in towards next week. And again, we'll see how quickly that upper level low wants to drop down out of the area and how quickly that next ridge wants to build back in. So if we look at 2-meter temperature anomaly, again, today we are above average here across much of the region, save for maybe some of the coastal areas. We scroll on in towards this weekend, though, and you can kind of see the blues returning there and suppressing our temperatures as we go through this weekend. But will they bounce back after that? You can kind of see the above normal temperatures as that ridge starts to creep in from the west again across portions of British Columbia. Now, looking at today, daily 2-meter max temperature, Seattle 86, maybe up towards 90 again for Portland there, but the 90s are returning in earnest here across eastern Oregon, Washington. Look at Boise in the upper 90s there. So this is today, Thursday, July 17th. We go to tomorrow, though. Look at the cool down coming for Seattle. Nice, but Willamette Valley still staying fairly warm. And then we cool things back down on Saturday there. So, yeah. That'll be nice. I know the Mossbacks will love that. We'll take a look at Sunday here. There's Monday, Tuesday. Start to creep back those temperatures again here, again, depending on how fast that upper level low or how strong that upper level low is and how fast that ridge wants to move back in. Start to warm up these temperatures up here a bit, but no promises on that. Looking a little bit too far out in the forecast. So Portland International, you kind of see that ridge maybe building back in, but we do have some more moderate temperatures coming through this weekend and on in through early next week. Before that does happen, Seattle, Tacoma, something similar here as well. We get to cool down and then maybe bouncing those temperatures back. We'll see how that goes. And I've been showing this, the wet bulb globe temperature here. So today we're still in elevated conditions for Seattle. I'm going to show you more on this here in a moment. Portland actually up into moderate here today and tomorrow, and then dropping down and then maybe bouncing back up again as we go through next week. Rogue Valley is actually in a different wet bulb globe temperature region. I'll show you those here in a moment. But even for region 3, we're looking at some moderate heat today for Medford, Oregon. And this is Bend back down to region 1. I'll show you how close they are to the cutoff, but you can see some elevated heat there today and tomorrow. Looking at Spokane, same thing here. A wet bulb globe region 1 might seem a little bit counterintuitive there, but I'll show you again that in a moment. But yeah, so what is the wet bulb globe temperature? Well, it's a measure of heat stress in direct sunlight, which is based on temperature, humidity, wind speed, sun angle, and cloud cover, solar radiation. It differs from the heat index. It's also called the apparent temperature, which is based on temperature and humidity, and is calculated for shady areas. So if you work or exercise in direct sunlight, the WBGT is a good element to monitor. And you can kind of see, if you want to pause this and look at it, your wet bulb globe temperature index is right there. So this is very good if you're an athlete out there training in sports and whatnot. If you're a firefighter out doing stuff, training, you can work in construction, you're roofing and whatnot. So all good stuff there. And you can see Category 1, Seattle, Portland, much of the Willamette Valley, but you see Category 2 move across eastern Oregon up into eastern Washington. It just does include Spokane in Category 1, but you also see Category 3, the very warm conditions up in the Sacramento Valley, for example, up towards Redding, and that does include Medford, Oregon. That's why you're in the Category 3 wet bulb globe temperature there. And if we take a look at activity modification, you can pause this or whatnot, or you can Google it and you can see what you're supposed to be doing. And once it gets up over 90 there, you're no outdoor workouts. Be very careful. And yeah, a lot of good stuff on that wet bulb globe temperature there. So yeah, fun stuff as we go through summertime. And now let's take a look at the extended forecast a little bit, or actually, first thing, this one only goes out 6 days, but I want to show you the trough coming rolling down here across the west coast of North America. The ensemble mean does show this ridge trying to build back in here, but again, we're looking a little bit too far off in the forecast. European Artificial Intelligence Ensemble. So let's take a look here. You can see the trough drop back down across Pacific Northwest. The ridge tries to build in. We go off into the extended forecast a little bit more, and actually shows some troughing coming towards the end of July. So that would be a little bit interesting there. We'll see how that trends here over the next few days, but some of the models are showing that as we get some ridging building back over some of the interior western portions of the United States. Looking at the 15-day precipitation anomaly on yesterday afternoon's European Ensemble Maine, you can see the west coast here pretty darn right dry, below normal even for late July, which means almost no precipitation for a lot of these areas. However, some of the interior portions of British Columbia and the Rocky Mountains showing above normal. Of course, we're going to go over my beef with the Climate Prediction Center here in a moment, so stand by. GFS Ensemble Mean shows a similar picture there as well. And if we look at the 6 to 10 day, I guess that makes sense. We'll see how that goes. I mean, I don't know if the signal is going to be that strong, but again, we'll watch that. In the 6 to 10 day, we're not seeing this down into Washington State. This is, again, a little bit further north, so I don't know what they're looking at. They're probably just looking at that broad brush, upper level low kind of being around the area or whatnot. So, yeah, I don't know about that. So take that with a grain of salt. So anyway, out dust double chasing yesterday. Check out my YouTube short I put out there if you would. Click like and subscribe. We will do this all again tomorrow, and I'll talk to you guys then.